From the road, the field looked fine. That was the first impression. The rows were there. The color looked good. The ground stretched out the way farmland always seems to. Steady, quiet, familiar, like it has done this forever and will keep doing it long after everyone else has gone home. To someone passing by, it looked like a normal field. To the farmer standing at the edge of it, that meant almost nothing, because farming has always required a different kind of seeing, not just looking. Seeing. Seeing the patch that is a little too dry. Seeing the color shift that does not belong there. Seeing where weeds are starting to win. Seeing the early signs of disease before they spread. Seeing when one part of the field is struggling while the rest still looks healthy enough to fool the eye. That is the work. Not just planting, not just spraying, not just harvesting, watching, interpreting, deciding, and doing it while the weather changes, prices move, equipment breaks, costs rise, and every season finds a new way to remind people that farming is not a gentle business. That is where artificial intelligence enters the field. A drone lifts off at sunrise. A camera scans rows that look ordinary from the ground. A screen lights up with data, moisture, stress, growth patterns, weed pressure, maybe even problem areas the farmer would not have spotted until days later. And suddenly, the field does not just look like a field anymore, it looks like information. That is the promise of AI in farming. Not replacing the farmer, not turning agriculture into some button-pushing fantasy where the land runs itself, but giving the farmer another set of eyes. Eyes in the sky, eyes in sensors, eyes in equipment, eyes in software that can compare patterns faster than a human can. And when farming margins are tight, labor is hard to find, input costs stay high, and the weather seems determined to make every season a little more difficult than the last one, that kind of help starts to matter. Because the truth is, farmers do need help. The work is too important not to. People can live without a lot of things, they cannot live without farming. That is what makes this moment interesting. AI is showing up in one of the oldest industries on Earth. Not in place of the farmer, but beside the farmer. The question is not whether the technology looks impressive. The question is whether it actually helps where it counts. In the dirt, in the weather, in the timing, in the decisions that make or break a season. Because AI can see the field, but can it save the farm? Here is where AI starts to make sense. Because farming has always been a race against things that do not wait. Weather does not wait. Weeds do not wait. Disease does not wait. Moisture stress does not wait. And when a problem starts in one part of a field, the clock is already moving before it becomes obvious from the road. That is one of the biggest advantages AI can bring to agriculture. It can help farmers see earlier. A drone image, a satellite map, a sensor reading, a camera on a sprayer, or a machine learning model looking at field data can sometimes spot patterns before a person sees them clearly on the ground. A section of crop may be under stress. A weed patch may be starting to spread. An irrigation issue may be showing up in the data. A disease pattern may be forming before it becomes visible across the whole field. And in farming, earlier matters. Earlier can mean treating a small problem before it becomes a big one. Earlier can mean spraying only where weeds are actually growing. Earlier can mean adjusting irrigation before a crop loses yield. Earlier can mean saving time, saving fuel, saving chemicals, and protecting more of the harvest. That is not hype, that is practical. One of the clearest examples is precision spraying. Instead of treating an entire field the same way, AI-powered equipment can use cameras and computer vision to identify weeds and target specific areas. The machine is not just moving through the field, it is making decisions row by row, plant by plant, spot by spot. That can reduce waste, it can reduce chemical use, it can help farmers spend money where it actually needs to be spent. And for anyone who has ever looked at the cost of inputs, that is not a small detail. AI can also help with irrigation. Moisture sensors, weather data, soil information, and crop models can give farmers a better picture of where water is needed and where it is not. That matters because too little water can hurt yield, and too much water can waste money, damage soil, and create other problems. The goal is not to make the farm complicated. The goal is to make the decision clearer. AI can help with yield forecasting too. It can look at historical data, weather patterns, crop health, and field conditions to help estimate what a farmer might expect from a season. It will not control the weather, nothing does, but it can help farmers plan with better information. And that is the real theme here. Better information. AI is not useful because it sounds futuristic. It is useful when it helps a farmer answer the questions that already matter. Where is the problem starting? How bad is it? How fast is it spreading? Do I need to treat the whole field or just part of it? Is this crop under stress? Is this water going where it needs to go? Is the field telling me something I have not seen yet? That is where AI earns its place. Not by replacing the farmer's judgment, but by sharpening it. Because a farmer already knows the land in ways no software can fully understand. The slope, the wet spot, the part that always struggles, the area where weeds come back every year like they own the deed, the soil that behaves differently after a hard rain. AI can add another layer to that knowledge. It can help turn field conditions into maps, warnings, summaries, and decisions. It can help a farmer look at hundreds of acres without pretending one person can be everywhere at once. And when the technology works well, it does something simple but powerful. It helps the farmer focus. Focus the scouting. Focus the spraying. Focus the irrigation. Focus the time. Focus the money. And in farming, focus can be the difference between reacting late and acting early. That is what AI gets right. It gives farmers another way to see. Not perfect, not magic, but useful. And in an industry where every season carries risk, useful is a pretty big deal. One real-world example is John Deere's See and Spray technology. This is not AI sitting in an office making guesses about a field. This is AI mounted directly on farm equipment, looking at the crop as the machine moves through the rows. The system uses cameras, computer vision, and machine learning to help tell the difference between crops and weeds in real time. Instead of treating the entire field the same way, the sprayer can target the weeds it identifies and apply herbicide only where it is needed. For a farmer, that matters in a very practical way. Herbicide is expensive, time is expensive, every pass across a field costs fuel, labor, equipment wear, and money. So if technology can help reduce unnecessary spraying and focus treatment on the places that actually need it, that can make a real difference. John Deere says its See and Spray Select system can reduce herbicide use by an average of 77% in fallow fields, depending on conditions and settings. Its newer See and Spray systems also use camera vision and machine learning to distinguish crops from weeds and target weeds during the growing season. That does not mean the farmer just pushes a button and walks away. The farmer still has to decide when to spray. The farmer still has to understand the crop, the weed pressure, the field history, the weather window, the product being used, and whether the recommendation makes sense for that operation. See and Spray can help the farmer focus the application. It can help reduce waste. It can help stretch inputs. It can help document what was applied and where, and it can give the farmer a more precise way to manage weeds instead of treating every acre like every problem is the same. But it cannot know everything a farmer knows. It does not know every low spot in the field. It does not know every decision that led to this season. It does not remove the cost of the equipment. It does not guarantee that every farm can afford the same technology. And it does not replace the judgment of the person who has to live with the result. That's the honest version. John Deere See and Spray is not a magic wand. It is a tool that helps farmers see and treat problems more precisely. And when the margins are tight, the weather is unpredictable and input costs are high, a tool that helps a farmer waste less and act more precisely is not just impressive, it is useful. This is where the story needs to slow down a little, because AI can see a lot. It can scan the field, it can analyze images, it can compare data, it can detect patterns, it can flag places that look stressed, dry, crowded with weeds, or different from the rest of the crop. That is powerful. But a farm isn't just data. A farm is weather, timing, soil, equipment, labor, cost, history, instinct, and risk, all stacked on top of each other. And that is where AI still has limits. AI might show a problem area in the field, but it may not know that the irrigation pump has been acting up for 3 weeks. It may not know that one low spot always holds water after a hard rain. It may not know that a certain section of the field was planted later because the equipment broke down. It may not know that the farmer is waiting on a part, short one operator, watching fuel prices, or trying to make a decision before the next storm rolls in. And farming is full of those decisions, the kind that do not fit neatly into a dashboard. A screen might say one area needs treatment, but the farmer still has to ask, can we get equipment in there today? Is the ground too wet? Will the wind allow spraying? Is rain coming? Is the product available? Can we afford to treat it right now? Is the problem bad enough to act? Or is this one of those situations where waiting 2 days changes the answer? That is the part people outside farming sometimes miss. The data may be clean, the field is not. The field has ruts, soft spots, weather windows, equipment limitations, budget pressure, labor shortages, and surprises that never seem to schedule themselves politely, very inconsiderate of them. AI can help identify what might be happening, but the farmer still has to decide what can actually be done, and then there is the cost. The newest tools can be impressive. Drones, sensors, smart sprayers, advanced tractors, mapping software, AI platforms, all of it can help, but none of it is free. For a large operation, the investment may make sense sooner. For a smaller farm, the numbers may be harder. A tool can be useful and still be out of reach. That matters, because if AI in farming only helps the farms that can afford the best systems, then the technology may improve efficiency while widening the gap between operations. That doesn't make AI bad, it makes the question more honest. Who gets access? Who owns the data? Who controls the platform? Who fixes the equipment when it breaks? Who decides whether the recommendation is trusted? Those aren't small questions. They're part of the future of farming. And even when the technology is available, AI still depends on the quality of the information it receives. Bad sensor data can lead to bad recommendations. Poor images can confuse the model. Missing field history can make the software less useful. A bad internet connection can turn a smart system into a very expensive guessing machine. And anyone who has worked in a rural area knows that just connected to the cloud can be a lot easier to say in a conference room than it is to do in the middle of a field. That is why farmers still matter so much, because the farmer is not just there to press the button. The farmer is the one who knows when the recommendation makes sense. The farmer knows when the map is right, and when it's just nonsense. The farmer knows that one part of the field always looks strange but still produces. The farmer knows that another part looks fine until it suddenly is not. The farmer knows what happened last season, what happened after the last storm, what the soil did after planting, and what the machine sounded like before it broke. AI can add information, it can add speed, it can add visibility, but it cannot replace that lived knowledge, and it cannot carry the risk. If the recommendation is wrong, the software doesn't lose the crop. The farmer does. If the timing is off, the software doesn't pay for the wasted input. The farmer does. If the field decision fails, the software doesn't sit at the kitchen table trying to make the numbers work. The farmer does. That is why the future of AI in farming cannot be built on hype. It has to be built on trust. Trust that the tool is accurate. Trust that the data is protected. Trust that the recommendation can be questioned. And trust that the farmer remains the decision maker, not just the person following instructions from a screen. Because AI can see the field, but seeing is not the same as knowing the farm. One real-world example is John Deere's See and Spray technology. The idea is straightforward. Cameras and machine learning look at the field in real time, identify weeds, and target spray only where it is needed instead of treating the entire field the same way. John Deere describes See and Spray as using camera vision and machine learning to distinguish crops from weeds and spray only the weeds. That can help farmers reduce wasted herbicide, focus inputs, and manage weed pressure more precisely. John Deere says See and Spray Select can reduce herbicide use by an average of 77% in fallow fields, depending on conditions and settings. But it still doesn't replace the farmer. It does not decide whether the timing is right. It does not know every piece of field history. It does not remove the cost of the equipment. It does not solve every weed problem in every crop under every condition. It is a tool, a powerful one, but still a tool.